Hi, I'm Stan Fronterbarger with Vintage Performance Model Airplanes, and I'm going to go through the unpacking and looking at a new Vintage Performance Nemesis plane. This plane comes in a box like this. It was originally designed by Howard Rush. It's a great vintage combat airplane, and what I've done is I've used his plan and made some instructional changes to it, make it a little easier to put together. On the step 2 here, we'll go through what this means, but this is the way that makes it work best for this kit for assembly. And then it's a full-size plan. You can lay your parts on this and build from this if you want to. It's not necessary to do that, but I would suggest that you read all this before you start putting this thing together. It might save you some yelling at the cat and kicking the dog type times with it. It also comes with everything here, the complete hardware kit. I'll go ahead and open it so you can see what it is. It's got the tube for the bladder, 024 lead outs, and SIG bell crank, maple mounts if you want to use them. This is the way to go, guys. I had to get kind of changed over to this, but these are perfectly the right size, 1/4 inch multi-ply plywood. You laminate those together. They're lighter and stronger than trying to glue up some conventional maple mounts. I got changed over to that a little bit back, and it's the way to go. I know some of them are going to say, no, that's not going to work. It works, promise you. This is the bell crank platform. These are the little crimp pieces for the lead outs, and then these are the pieces for the lines to crimp together. And I don't know how these two pieces got in there in this bag, but you got some bonuses if you got this kit. This is exactly what you get. This is all the wood, everything's included, and unpackaged, it's over here. Well, I laid one out. I'll go through it. This is your top and bottom. It's got a clamshell vertical shear web spar, which is a little different than the original kit, but it just makes it, the original kit had a couple pieces of 1/4 inch square. This just makes it much easier to put together because everything's notched and lined up. You don't have to have a jig to build it. Notched everything to where everything just slides together. The wing tips go on this wing number 6, just like that. I mean, you can't build it wrong. It will not go together wrong. We use the 3/16 bass booms just like Howard used. All your planking pieces are pre-cut. They fit perfectly. 3/16 elevator. And then this is the pieces to put together for the motor mounts if you want to go conventional with that. I wouldn't, but that's fine. I put it in there in case you do. And these are the doublers for the nacelle. And that's that. So we're going to start with putting the wing together. So this is the bell crank platform, and I'm going to slide it into wing rib number 1. We're going to slide the other wing rib number 1 on there. I'm just going to say rib after this. And you leave about a 1/2 inch space in there because if you'll remember, that's how big your motor mount is. Rib number 2, make sure your numbers are up because of the slant on the bell crank platform. Goes there like that. So we're going to set those right there. Now we're going to put, this is the bottom spar. We're going to put these ribs in this bottom spar, and they'll just slide right in there and get them lined up. You don't have to force them, just kind of have to slide them around a little bit, and they'll go in just like that. And then you slide 3 numbers up, 4, 5, and 6 will go right out here, and it'll probably fall off, but we're going to put it right there anyway. And we go the same way on the other side, except we've got a smaller rib. This is where the bladder tube will go through. So this is a half rib, and it's called 2R. It's marked 2R. It slides in. 3 goes next. 4. 5 and 6. Now we're going to put the top piece on. And you'll see that it all just slides right together. When I say that, of course it won't, but let's see if it does. Look at there. All right, you can see how stout that is already on a flat table, which isn't what I build on, but it's my best video surface. But anyway, this is how it sets up. This is where your bell crank goes, obviously. Your lead outs come through these little holes, and these holes are swept back on this Nemesis from the plan and from the original design. Howard set them up to where your lead outs come out pretty far back, further back than most of the time. So, but the holes are slanted back and they're flattened out as it turns. The bell crank's in there at an angle, and it flattens on out. And the reason it's like that is so you don't have to have a bend in your push rod. The push rod's straight all the way out, which makes everything work better. We're going to put on the little jig for the trailing edge now. It's got little tabs that break off when we're finished. We're going to put that on now. And this just clips right in here, just like this. See? And then you've got this to sit down flat on your table, on your building top. And what I do, when I get to this point, I'll go ahead and put your top trailing edge piece on. Of course, you want to take a sanding block and sand a bevel on the inside of the top and bottom piece, because you've got about a 1/4 of an inch overhang on this. And you want it to come to a point, so you bevel it just about a 1/4 inch in all the way across. All right, after it's beveled, put it on top, and you glue it on. And you weight it to your surface, let the glue dry. Your wing's perfectly flat, no need for a jig. Your table's your jig, and these tabs are the rest of the jig. Now, of course, when this is dry, you continue on, but at this point, your motor mounts, I haven't done this yet, but your motor mounts are already glued together. They are drilled, and they have the blind nuts on them. These don't, of course, but I just want to show you how this works. Don't put these on until you already have this all assembled, because you also don't want to put these on until you have them drilled and the blind nuts in there, because it's really hard to do after it's put together. But anyway, these slide right up in here, and it fits in this little notch just like that. I mean, it couldn't be any easier. Your bladder tube, put the 2 ends in it. They come in the kit. Slide this center, take this little piece out, and it's going to make it real flimsy, so you have to be very careful. You slide this little piece over this, and you stick this all up in there, like that. And this holds it all up in there, and you add some glue and glue your bladder tube in there nice and sturdy. And it's all in there. We're going to pretend it's all in there now, okay? At this point, what I do is go ahead and glue the leading edge on. It's a 3/8 square, and glue it on. And then we go to the bell crank and finish it on up from there, but that'll be on episode number 3. Thanks for watching. It's going to be part 3 of building the Nemesis. As we left off last week, we had built the plane pretty well to this point. We didn't have the bell crank or the leading edge motor mounts or the bladder tube on. So I'm going to show you what we did over the weekend. As you remember, we had the bell crank platform slid through rib 2L and the center 2 ribs. And it's got a slot here that it goes in. Okay, we did that, and I'm going to show you what we did, a couple of modifications on putting the bell crank in. As you can see, I've had the bell crank push rod in the closest to the pivot. This gives us a less overall elevator movement, and also helps you with stability. It still has plenty of movement, plenty of up and down, but you don't need to have it out here in the highest pivot, because it just gives you too much control. Also, I put 2 1/4-inch pieces of scrap wood here, which limits the throw on the bell crank, so it gives you a nice positive stop left and right, up and down, as it be every time, the same amount of travel. So to do that, we had to drill a hole in the platform about 1/4 inch inboard. From there's the old laser cut hole, and so I just moved the hole in about 1/4 inch, so that the top of the bell crank will just clear this rib and makes everything fit nicely. Also, I took a piece of 1/8 inch scrap balsa and just glued it on the bottom of the platform, and this keeps the push rod. If for some reason it went past the stop in some kind of a over control type situation, the push rod will not come out. That helps hold it up in there, so you don't need to put a Z-band or anything in it. It's not going anywhere. To do that, you have to kind of trim on the top spar a little bit, so I reinforced it with a piece of scrap. Just don't really have to do that because you've got planking over it anyway, but there's no reason not to, because it's easy to do and it just helps it with the strength. The only other thing that I would say that would be helpful is you need to enlarge these holes in the rib 2L where the lead outs come through. On the future kits, I'm going to have our laser cutter make these holes a little bigger. That way you don't have to do it. But since if you have one of the kits now that has the small holes, I would go ahead and cut the holes out before I put it together. It makes it a lot easier to do at that time. Next thing, so that's the bell crank set up. The next thing we did was we put the motor mounts in. We used tight bond and glued those in. Then we got our bladder tube ready to go in. It's a 6-inch piece. It comes in the kit. It's got 2 1/8-inch balsa caps that slide right up in there perfectly. They're in the kit. And it's got this little 2R half rib. It's got a hole in it. This is a really kind of a flimsy little piece because it's so thin. What I did is I took some CA and before I put it together and glued on that to stiffen it up a little bit. Then I sanded the inside of it, made it slip on that tube real easily, and it didn't want to break for me. So what you want to do, you've got your motor mount in, you've got your bell crank assembly in, and you're going to put your leading edge is still not on yet. So you take and you put your bladder tube up in there. Don't glue it. You've got this rib slid on it. Take your leading edge and stick it on there, and take some CA and just pop it on right here, right here, right here, right here. Then you've already put some tight bond in here. You want to always use some tight bond around your motor mount area. All right. Then you can kind of move this center rib around a little bit, adjust it if you need to. This little rib 2R. And kind of hold down on it and put some CA, put on it on top and bottom, and then put some out here on this end of it, and make sure it's still in the center to where your sheeting will clear on top where it's not riding up too high. And then just put you some CA on it, and it's in there. Then you've got it finished. You've got your leading edge on, your bell cranks in, your motor mounts in, your bladder tubes in. You go back and take you some tight bond or epoxy and put it around your bladder tube to help hold it in, and you can go around and strengthen it up, add some more glue here and there before you sheet it. The sheeting comes already ready to go. Probably do this is take this first rectangular piece and then your little trapezoid looking piece and put it on there and mark you just a little half moon right there. Really is what you need. because you're not going to have a bend in your push rod. That's one of the great things about this. The way our belt crank is slanted, we don't have to have a bend. It comes out at a perfect angle for our controls. So we're just going to mark it, and we're going to put just a little half moon right there for clearance. Put that baby on there, put this one on, and after they're glued in, then you take that and slide that up around like that, and then you glue that side on, glue the other side on, and you got it. Our trailing edge piece we already had glued on the top. As you can see, I don't know if I hope you can see, there's a little chamfer on this. We talked about that in the other video where I chamfered it into about a 1/4 inch in to almost to a point, not to a point. It makes it a little too flimsy, but about a 1/4 inch in and puts a chamfer on it. Then when you put your other piece on it, it brings it to a nice point that you can see there. And so when we put our booms on, they slide right on and everything fits perfect. I had already popped off the little jig stands that were on here. We had a video here a while ago and I popped them off during that video. But you'll see that those are still on there when you're building it. That holds the plane flat while you're putting everything together. You pop those off, hit it with some sandpaper right here, and then put your bottom half of the trailing edge on. And you're pretty well ready to start sheeting, and then you can snap your wingtips on. They go right there, really hard to do, go right in the holes. And finish sheeting it. You're ready to go. We're going to have another video. We're going to show it sheeted. We'll go through a few other things that we did with it, and we will get back with you in a day or so. Thanks for watching. Had the plane ready to sheet, and so as you can see here, the sheeting is done on the leading edge and the trailing edge and the center section. I've cap stripped the ribs. And as you can see, these planes come boxed, that makes a boxed in D style leading edge. When this is all done, it makes a very stiff, light structure. Same thing with the trailing edge, because of the way it's built. We've got a D structure, well, kind of a V type structure, but it's boxed in also, which makes it super strong and super tight. As we talked about earlier, this one has the swept back lead outs, and you can see here where they come back and the holes line up perfectly. And I've got the 1/8 inch brass tubing on here, epoxied down, and I've got a 1/2 ounce of weight in the outboard wing. This one's built for a G2135 Super Tiger, and it's a tight fit. But it fits in there nicely, and you don't have to do really any modification at all to the motor mount. It fits it perfectly, but it's a tight fit. I've gone ahead and cut the hole in here for the bladder. It's got the 6-inch bladder. It's 1 1/4 diameter, so you can hold about 4 ounces of fuel. So I'm going to get ready and cover this one, and it'll be sent out to Arizona.